Hey guys, it's Cece. I am here to share some knowledge with you about African Americans and their culture and a little bit more background on that. So let's just go ahead and get into this video. So, for those of you who don't know me, quick introduction. My name's Cecilia, but I also go by Cece. I go to the University of South Carolina, go Hawks. And yeah, this video that I'm making and many other videos to come will be specifically for my Education 335 class, which is about African literacy dysphoриas and stuff like that. So, a little bit of an educational thing, but I hope you guys can take away some things from this and learn more. So, starting with the first thing I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about some of the pages I read from one of our books called Educating African American Students and How Are the Children. This comes from chapter 4, pages 113 through 116. So everything I'm about to talk about now comes from that section of information. So what I'm going to talk about now from these pages in this book is about how it dealt with the enslavement of African Americans and how most texts and school lessons on slavery only tend to focus on the part where African Americans were enslaved. The problem with this is it doesn't focus on anything that happened beforehand. It doesn't focus on any of their life beforehand. It doesn't immerse us in their culture, which is a big red flag. As historians, as students, future educators, we want the ability to be able to be immersed in somebody else's culture, not just our own. So the problem with these school lessons and history books is they don't tend to show us any of that. Additionally, these pages that I read really were urging teachers to take the step up that these history books aren't doing and these school lessons aren't doing, and be the teacher that immerses your children in African literacy and dysphoria in their culture, which is amazing. I totally agree. Why not be more immersed in culture? Why be stuck in one viewpoint when there's so many more that you can learn about, and it's so interesting. Okay, so some fun activities that I learned about that you can use to teach your children about the dysphorias and the culture would be using folk tales, arts, which is a great one, even music, really great. We're actually going through my class right now. We just did like a whole drumming section, which is great. I love listening to music, and it was like a really fun activity, so that's a good one. You can share their histories, cultures, language, and traditions, and even share about life before slavery, which is very important to know about. On to the next. I'm going to be sharing next about Africa's great civilization, and just a little bit more about what was found earlier on in Africa and what was discovered and why it's important. The first thing I'm going to share about is mitochondrial Eve. I'm not going to lie, before this lesson and reading response, I had no clue what mitochondrial Eve was. I was thinking, is it like the mitochondria we learned about in science class? And pretty good guess. But mitochondrial Eve is the most common ancestor line that many people are related to through their maternal side. So, you might be wondering, what the heck? I was too, can't lie. So, I did a little more digging. How it works is the mitochondrial Eve is sourced back to Africa, okay? Around 100,000 to 200,000 years ago is what I wrote down. And it's known as a she, so I guess when I'm thinking about this, mitochondrial Eve is probably a woman. That was probably her name, is what she's known as. She is the most common ancestor line that many people are related to. So instead of it being the whole family tree, like you have this many people it can be related to through, it's only on the maternal side, okay? If that makes any more sense for you than it did for me. She's also referred to as mitochondrial DNA, which is mtDNA, okay? Moving on, something else that was interesting that we talked about was what was found in 1997 in Ethiopia and what the discovery meant. In Ethiopia in 1997, they found many different fossils, okay? This is where it gets good. The fossils they found included ones of human form, okay? These fossils of human form included ones known as the hominin species, and it's the Australopithecus garhi. I think I said that right. And the Homo sapiens adultu. I think I said those right. If I didn't, don't butcher me. Okay. Anyhow, so those are the fossils that they found. So these two things, when you read them, like, it kind of sounds like it has some relation to human, is like the word human, and they kind of do. So these fossils helped discover the history of the evolutionary timeline for over in Ethiopia, and it helped these people find out that these fossils they're finding are kind of like the earlier forms of human skeletal structure, which was interesting. These discoveries were huge, right? And it helped us discover we didn't just show up like this according to the evolutionary timeline. It's a whole different deal. But yeah, really rare. And then one last thing I want to talk about around this timeline is what they found in the Blombos cave in 1991 and what that meant. So in 1991, in the Blombos cave, they discovered the cave itself is what I found. I could be wrong. And they also discovered inside the cave there were many different artifacts, such as bones, stone tools, shell beads, and engravings. So I went ahead and printed out some pictures of these artifacts, just a few examples. And this includes some of the bone tools that were found. And it's hard to tell on this rock per se, but you can kind of see the engravings on there, right? Well, this one is a bit closer up of one of the rocks, and there are engravings on there, right? So, these artifacts that were found revealed that the Homo sapiens that we just talked about a few minutes ago from Africa showed behaviors that were considered modern, seeing that they were crafty enough to create tools for production purposes and expressive thinking. So when you look at this photo of this rock, you can't tell me that this isn't expressive. I mean, look at it. If they had no knowledge of how to be creative and expressive and even build tools for everyday life, they wouldn't have been able to create something as awesome as that. And that's just plain fact. And it's still standing around to this day, which is awesome. So I would say these artifacts helped us discover that they were a little bit more modernized than you might think for their timeline, which was many, many years ago. So yeah, we're going to move on from that. And the next thing that I want to talk about today are some African hidden histories, which has to deal with many, many, many empires. Okay, so a little joke. There's about 6, 7, sorry, I had to do it. Anyways, there's about 6 more 7 things in this section I want to talk to you about, and we're just going to kick it off strong, and we're just going to go ahead and talk about the Mali Empire, okay? Okay, the Mali Empire began in the 1200s by Sundiata Keita. He was also referred to as the Lion King. Okay, that got interesting for me. This empire was well known for trading, elaborate mas. I actually don't know what that one means, but it's what I learned when I researched a little bit, okay? Islamic schools, and for being luxurious. Ooh, okay, you shouldn't have Mali Empire, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it seems like they're pretty proficient in a few areas, right? Well, one of the well-known rulers, Mansa Musa, had an overabundance of riches. So, fun fact, he actually helped his community by passing his gold out. Some of his gold, he's like, here, free gold. Gold for you, gold for you, gold for you. Like Oprah show, right? Oprah back in the day. Anyhow, so that was pretty interesting to me. The Mali Empire was depended on greatly when it came to gold and trading. Almost half almost half, okay. Almost half of the world depended on them, which is crazy, for their gold needs during the 14th century, which is crazy. You think about the whole world, and you're like, almost half of it. It's like, hey, give me your gold, right? Pretty cool. Well, the Mali Empire was also well known for education and housed the largest library within Africa at the time, with about 700,000 manuscripts, which is wild. Anyways, that's all I had to share about the Mali Empire. Now we're going to move on to the Kingdom of Kush. So, okay guys, so slight problem. I was going to read off my notes for this video, and I just realized my notes on the Kingdom of Kush got cut off. Solid. So, no worries, I have them pulled up on my phone, but let me share with you. The Kingdom of Kush was an ancient Nubian empire. It came around 785 BC along the Nile River, okay? So if you're thinking about your geography, you're thinking about, hey, the Nile River is pretty close to Egypt, right? Yeah. So during this time, because that's when around the pharaohs were ruling and all that sorts of things, this empire was pretty close. And because of that, some of the monarchs, more of the well-known ones, obviously, but some of the monarchs of Kush were actually also some of the pharaohs of Egypt as well. Pretty interesting, right? So, the empire is now known as Sudan. The kingdom was extremely powerful. They even ruled Egypt, so that was also interesting. Okay? Kush was successful for more than 1,000 years. Okay, 1,000. And was well known for trading silver and gold. Kushites, like Egyptians, were also known for mummifying their dead loved ones and building pyramids as well. Pretty interesting, right? So, it sounds like the Kingdom of Kush and Egyptians kind of shared a lot of similarities there, which I loved. I need to wrap this up because I'm starting to yap. Anyhow, next is the Songhai Empire. The Songhai Empire was a large West African kingdom that came together around the 15th century. The capital of this empire was known as Mao, which is also now known as modern-day Mali, okay? Their most well-known ruler was King Mohammed Askia, who is also known as Askia the Great. Pretty cool. Askia the Great made sure to expand not only their kingdom, but also to the number of Islamic schools in Timbuktu. He was really big on that, okay? He was a large advocate for education and learning, and often rewarded professors with pensions, like, give me that money, you know? Next up, we have the Kingdom of Axum. During the time of the Roman Empire, the Kingdom of Axum was thriving in East Africa. Starting around 100 BC, the Kingdom of Axum became an important trading center for their gold ivory, which created a relationship between Europe and the Far East. You know, come together right there. And the kingdom also created their own script language known as Ge'ez, which is G-E, apostrophe easy. So, pretty interesting stuff. Next is the Kingdom of Zimbabwe. The Kingdom of Zimbabwe was established around 1220 AD, and they expanded their artistic and masonry techniques. All right, artist. This kingdom traded regularly with Asian and Arab partners. The city of Great Zimbabwe served as the capital of the kingdom, which, that's where a lot of historic ruins can be found and all the things, which is awesome. Now that we are done talking about kingdoms, okay, we're going to get into some king and queen things, and also learn a little bit more about this group known as the Moors, okay? More about the Moors. Get it? One king that I did learn about during this experience was King Ramses II. He was the most powerful Egyptian pharaoh. He united with the Nubian queen Nefertiti to end a 100-year war, which is crazy work. Crazy work, let me applaud you. So, next I learned about a queen named Mekeda, also known as the Queen of Sheba. And if you are someone who reads the Bible, or was Christian or any type of religion just knows the story. You know that she comes up in the Bible, right? In the Quran. But yeah, so awesome. Mekeda is well known for her extensive reign over Arabia and Ethiopia, and she united with King Solomon from the Bible and Quran. And that's where we get the information from, which is awesome. So yeah. Last thing I'm going to talk about to you guys today, because I'm trying to wrap it up, I know I yap, is what did the Moors contribute to Europe? The Moors were a group. They established an empire from northern Africa to southern Europe, okay? So they're starting here, going here, and meeting in the middle, and expanding over all that area, right? They ruled in Europe for almost 800 years, okay? From 711 to 1492 AD. Long time. The Moors advanced in mathematics, astronomy, art, and agriculture. They even brought Europe out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance, which is crazy to think about. 8 things they brought to Europe were a universal education, okay? They focused a lot on making sure people had access to education. Example, if there were 17 cities, they wanted like 70 education buildings rather than like 7 cities and 3. You know what I mean? They brought fashion and hygiene. They came up with the idea of changing clothes based on the seasons. And what else did they bring? They also created deodorant. They created daily bathing and toothpaste, right? Okay. They even came up with the ideas of shaving and haircuts and hair washing among men. Okay, and they made those ideas popular. The next thing they brought was cuisine. They introduced the idea of a 3-course meal, which was like soup, main meal, and like dessert. Okay. They brought urban utilities, like street lights, hospitals, running water, which is more advanced in places like Paris and London. Okay. They brought medicine. And this is a quote specifically from my research. The father of modern surgery was Moor al-Zahrari. I might have said that wrong, but forgive me. Anyways, he developed innovative surgical instruments and the textbook for Western medical trainings. All right. Okay. They created human flight. They brought, what else? Advanced agricultural techniques. They gained knowledge of crop irrigation and cultivation, paper making, which they brought to Spain, and yeah, overall, pretty impressive group. So yeah, I really hope you guys were able to take away some things that I brought up today, and I really hope that it helped you guys further your education, because doing all this research and making a cool video like this certainly helped me learn more. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and here's the next video.